Good morning to everybody. It's a pleasure to be with you, even with you, John. It's good to see you. Folks, have you ever thought much about the history of this really great organization that you're affiliated with through your membership in a local Rotary Club? Have you ever thought much about it? Have you ever thought about how did we begin? How did we get through these 100+ years that we're in? What has been our major humanitarian effort? Well, I can truthfully tell you that it's not providing public toilets. Although that was our very first humanitarian project in Chicago in 1906. And the older I get, the more important I think that project is. But that is not our major humanitarian effort. We began our relationship with what was to become our major humanitarian priority in the late 20s and 30s when we began a partnership. Our organization, Rotary, began a partnership with the Society for the Prevention of Crippled Children and later the Easter Seal campaign. And we had a standing Rotary International Committee that reported on our work with those two entities at our annual convention for years and years and years. But our real efforts, as we know our polio effort today, began with a 3H grant during the 1979-80 Rotary year. And that grant was to immunize 6 million children against the ravages of polio. It was successful. And it basically set the stage for the launching of our polio effort during the 1984-85 Rotary year. Our goal then and still is today, and I quote, the global certification of polio eradication. Now, what does that statement mean? It means, according to the World Health Organization, quote, the interruption of the transmission of the polio virus, wild polio virus, end quote. Well, we knew we couldn't do that job alone, even back in 1984 and 85. So we began the development of partnerships with organizations like the Centers for Disease Control, the World Health Organization, UNESCO, and nation states around this world. Those partnerships and Rotary's prestige in the world have increased many, many times over the past 20+ years. By the 1994-95 Rotary year, the Western Hemisphere of the world was declared polio-free. By the 2000-2001 Rotary year, the Western Pacific Rim of region was declared polio-free. By 2001-2002, Europe was declared polio-free. Rotary International itself and the Rotary Foundation during those years has launched 5, and if you've been in Rotary a while, you know them, 5 major fundraising campaigns for Rotary's share of this effort. The first was in 1984-85 with a goal of $120 million. The second was in 1987-88 with a goal of $247 million. Then in 2000-2003, we had another campaign with a goal of $130 million. 2007-2008 Rotary year, $100 million goal, and our current 2009-2010 campaign with a $200 million goal. As a zone, Zone 33, which we are a member of, through June 30th of this year, for the campaign that began December 1, 2007, we've raised $1,238,489.83. The 83 cents came from John Capps. And your district alone has raised $129,865.70. I'm not sure who gave the 70 cents. Both these figures do not include DDF transfers that have come from the various districts and grants of that sort. I'm simply talking about individual member and club contributions in those figures. All of Rotary's efforts as an organization since December 1, 2007 have netted this is all of the efforts, it should include DDF, public contribution, Gates Foundation, and so forth, has netted just under $93 million. So on behalf of the trustees of the Rotary Foundation, thank you. Thank you very, very much. Well, where do we stand, though, right today, right now, with this priority project of Rotary? What's left for us, both financially and geographically? Well, since 1985, more than 2 billion children have received the oral polio vaccine. In 2008 alone, 340 million children in 36 countries using 2.4 billion doses of vaccine received the oral polio vaccine. In 1988, 10% of the world's children lived in polio-free countries. As of January 1, 2008, that's the latest statistic we have, over 70% of the world's children live in polio-free countries. The number of polio cases has been reduced by 99% since the launching of our Polio Plus program in the 1984-85 Rotary year. Since Rotary began its program, the number of countries which continue to be polio endemic have declined from 125 to 4. 210 countries and territories are now polio-free. What countries are not yet polio-free? Nigeria, India, Pakistan, Afghanistan. Now, in February 2007, an intensive eradication effort was launched in those 4 areas, including the development of and the distribution of a benevolent oral polio vaccine. This vaccine will protect children twice as effectively for each dose as the traditional trivalent or oral vaccine. During 2009 thus far, and this is unfortunate, persistent outbreaks are spreading from some of the 4 endemic countries for a variety of reasons to Angola, to Chad, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, as well as that border between southern Sudan and western Ethiopia. These outbreaks are being taken care of, and they're being conquered, but it takes time, it takes money, it takes resources. In Nigeria alone, and before the question comes up, because some of you may have read a recent newspaper article about Nigeria, 124 children were paralyzed this year, about twice the figure as in 2008, because of the use of the new vaccine that I was talking about earlier. Because this new vaccine contains a weakened live polio virus. But please remember, as you read this article and you read the reports from the World Health Organization, please remember, although this is an unwelcome after effect, it is 124 cases out of 42 million children that were inoculated, almost twice the number as the year previously in that country. So for your information, according to the World Health Organization, and this is something that we really don't think about too much, in order to really get the grips on inoculating children against polio and making sure we have stomped out that program as we inoculate, we really have to reach 95%, minimum, 95% of the children in a country. In Nigeria alone, we still have between 15 and 20% to go before they even get the first dose. So keep that in mind when we talk about the problems we have in Nigeria.